think a very basic way of kind of summarizing what's going on here is currently we are in a solar cycle, which is when Bitcoin and cryptocurrency is in what we call a bull run. And when we switch into a lunar cycle, which by the way will be on March 14th to 15th of 2025, so you guys could all write that down if you like. That is when we enter the phase of what we call a bear market, or we have seen all of our bear markets during that time, just like we've seen all of our bull runs during these solar cycles. It is not debatable. The Bitcoin halving is irrelevant in this particular analysis. This is going much deeper. It's going into the energetics behind this whole game, not just for Bitcoin, but for the alt season, for everything combined.
I thought it was very fascinating when the Terra Luna situation happened, what was going on with the moon at that time.
So effectively on the lunar eclipse during the lunar cycle, the second to last lunar eclipse of a 2.5 year cycle, we watched this particular asset collapse after having one of the best bull runs, by the way. That would make sense if we were to come back, slide below, maybe back test this area right here, the last big pivot, and then hold that 21 EMA. Anyone who gets in below this 21 EMA, it's probably as good as it's going to get before six-figure Bitcoin.
Greetings and welcome, Earthlings, extraterrestrials, multidimensional beings, ethereal creatures, or whomever may be watching to the newest episode of Rice Crypto. I am your host, Rice, and on today's show, Crypto Blood and myself are joined by Jordan from Waters Above. Now, we did this thing a few weeks ago, and we're doing it again today. I will include links down below in the video description and the pinned comment for the playlist that I created with all of Jordan from Waters Above's previous appearances on the channel. Today, we're going to be getting into some predictions about what will be occurring with Bitcoin and cryptocurrency for the remainder of 2024, leading us into 2025, plus much more.
All right, ladies and gents, this is part 2 of having my guy Waters Above on the show. I got my main man Rice TVX with me as well. We're going to have a nice conversation with Waters Above. I'm very excited because I learned a lot from the last, I don't like calling it an interview, Rice. Kicking it session is what I call it. And a lot of things have been seemingly lining up. We just had what do you call it, a lunar eclipse or whatever on April 8th. Listen, I'm new to this stuff. I don't know all the
solar eclipse.
Total solar. Thank you. Total solar eclipse this last April 8th, and spot on. That was kind of a local top for Bitcoin. I want to ask him about that, and I'm sure Rice has questions as well. So let's go ahead and bring Waters Above on today. Waters, how are you, bro?
I'm doing better every day, and I appreciate you inviting me back on. It's great to reconnect, and I'm looking forward to hanging out with you guys for a little bit.
Yeah, so I want to start off, Rice. I don't know if you've ever asked them this, but I thought about this a couple of days ago. Where do you get the name Waters Above? What does that mean?
So the idea comes from studying esoterica, and well, anyone who's read the beginning of the Bible, Book of Genesis, they'll see this term, waters above. So it's tied to this concept of having a firmament or some sort of dome that separates this inner earth that we inhabit and the so-called outer space, which has a lot of controversy behind it, a lot of conspiracy, etc. I don't want to get too deep into that, but to give you the direct story of what brought me to this particular idea was studying Operation Paperclip and Wernher von Braun, who was the head of the Apollo missions, the lunar landing. And Wernher von Braun was a National Socialist who escaped what was called Nazi Germany and was brought to the United States of America in this whole ordeal, Operation Paperclip. And he was working for NASA, so already kind of awkward that the global enemy is now working for the so-called free world. But that led me down this rabbit hole, and I saw that Warner von Braun was buried in Alexandria, Virginia, and his tombstone had a Bible verse on it. And this Bible verse references the firmament, which is first brought up in the book of Genesis. It's about line 7, so it's very early in the Bible. And I forgot the exact Bible verse, but anyone could look it up. Just look up Warner von Braun's tombstone. And it essentially says that the firmament showeth God's handiwork. And this is very fascinating, considering this particular individual was the one who led the lunar mission, the Apollo missions. And it's basically straight up saying to you right there that there is no such thing as outer space, and that there is this dome above us that separates us from access to this celestial, heavenly realm, the spirit realm, if you will. So I thought that was really fascinating to find through my study of Operation Paperclip and then Warner von Braun and what his tombstone said, and then leading to the Bible. And then out of that came this pattern where you study any ancient civilization and you're going to see artwork or some sort of cave carvings or imagery symbolically and just flat out in your face a dome that encapsulates this inhabitable earth. And you can see this with the Norse mythology and symbolism. You could also even see this with ancient Egypt with Nut or Nuit, this mother goddess that kind of arches over the realm, and you can see her body is made of waters and stars. So yeah, that's where the name comes from. It comes from that sort of study and piecing everything together.
Interesting. Rice, did you want to follow up with anything on that?
No, I learned something new. I mean, I'm from Virginia, from Northern Virginia specifically, part of the DMV. In Northern Virginia, I'm from Manassas. He's talking about Alexandria. I didn't know that Warner von Braun was buried in Alexandria, Virginia, which I believe the national cemetery is in Alexandria, Virginia as well, which is kind of ironic to think that he could be buried near the soldiers that particularly went to Germany to fight against the Nazis. So,
yeah,
but
there's a lot of irony there, but it's all on
when you
purpose.
said Alexandria, Virginia, I was just like, that is crazy. And as soon as Blood asked you that question about where you got the name, I was like, here we go, because there's a lot of people on the internet who are definitely not fans of the idea that the globe is spherically round in a 3D format.
Oh, I'm
trying to avoid the FE words.
Yeah, and
I'm not. I thought the flat earthers were. Go ahead. Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to be very transparent that I don't consider myself a flat earther. I don't consider myself a ball earther. I don't really look at it that way. I think that we have a very complicated conversation ahead if we wanted to dive down that path, and I don't think we need to keep it on track. But I just want to let everyone know that I'm not a flat earther. I am open to the study of mythology and esoterica, and I feel like that's where the wisdom is. And the shape of the earth doesn't concern me. It doesn't change my perspective on this reality. It doesn't alter my path or my purpose. And if anything, it's brought more division than a lot of concepts that you can name. And it's quite sad, actually, to see how many people debate and lose so much energy over the shape of the earth, if you will, when we could be redirecting our attention into greater matters that could actually affect us and our communities and our lives.
No, Jordan, I definitely was not trying to imply that you were a flat earther by any means.
Yeah, I wasn't assuming
something that I find interesting is this idea, because in Blood, definitely we talk about this very often, about living in a simulated reality, a matrix. Mm-hmm. And if we think about this being a matrix, or even like very similar to like playing a game, in a game, you don't have every single aspect of play available. It's only once you enter certain areas that certain aspects of the games open up. So the idea that if you think that the earth is round, it's going to be round for you. If you think the earth is flat, it's going to be flat for you because of the reality that we live in and the way that we construct our reality by manifesting via our thoughts. Just to get a little deep for a second before we go back into the reality of where we're at today.
Yeah.
And actually, that's applicable to every single thing, even with cryptocurrency. Like, how many people are Bitcoin maxis? How many people are part of the XRP army? How many people are, whatever, Link Marine, whatever fucking cult, right? So it's
Mm-hmm.
like what's really powerful behind all of this is you become what you give your attention to. And I feel like the
Mm.
cryptocurrency conversation, because it's new, it's very much like that. And that's another thing that I try to do with my art here is I don't want people to think that what Waters Above is all about is picking one lane, because really, if I had to pick one lane, it's basic. It's called sovereignty, and you can't be free if you only pick one side, right? There's this neutral stance you could have on the matter, where you could sit here as neutrality is your vantage point, and you could look at everyone caught up in duality consciousness, but you realize later as you become more sophisticated that that doesn't serve you. Learn from everyone. Learn from the flat earth people, learn from the Christians, learn from the Muslims, learn from the Kabbalists, learn from the people who believe they know everything, but for you, just absorb the information, absorb the knowledge.
Can we learn from the Rosicrucians?
Of course, there's if they're willing to teach you.
Right. So in our last our last talk, Jordan, we talked about April solar eclipse, right? It came and it went, and so did Bitcoin. Tell us what your thoughts are on how Bitcoin behaved around this eclipse that happened on
Sure, I
April
could
8th.
pull up my screen actually if this is
Okay.
helpful for you guys.
While
Just let me know if you
he's
can see
doing
mine.
that, I was going to say while he's doing that, I asked the question of Waters like a couple times after interviewing him, and you asked sort of a similar question, and it's basically like, why do total solar eclipses or solar eclipses happen on new moons? That was kind of an interesting thing too, because from talking to Waters, the phases of the moon also have effect. But from what I understand, when you're in a solar cycle, the lunar activity isn't as strong as it would be in a lunar cycle. In this particular instance, we had a total solar eclipse, so that would have had more energy and power than the actual new moon itself, if I understand this correctly.
Yeah, I think a very basic way of kind of summarizing what's going on here is currently we are in a solar cycle, which is when Bitcoin and cryptocurrency is in what we call a bull run. And when we switch into a lunar cycle, which by the way will be on March 14th to 15th of 2025, so you guys could all write that down if you like. That is when we enter the phase of what we call a bear market, or we have seen all of our bear markets during that time, just like we've seen all of our bull runs during these solar cycles. It is not debatable. The Bitcoin halving is irrelevant in this particular analysis. This is going much deeper. It's going into the energetics behind this whole game, not just for Bitcoin, but for the alt season, for everything combined. Okay. So, right now, since April of last year, on April 20th, right over here, we had a solar eclipse that effectively started our solar cycle. And over here in November, we had a lunar eclipse. This was the last lunar eclipse of our lunar cycle. And you all probably remember, if you kept up with this, that was when FTX went down and when Sam Bankman-Fried was caught up in his scandal. Well, after that moment, we bottomed out and then we moved bullish into the next solar eclipse. Then we were sideways to the next solar eclipse, and then we've been bullish till the recent solar eclipse. So solar eclipses during a solar cycle are incredibly powerful, and that's when we tend to see a pivot in energy. And lunar eclipses during a solar cycle, which we're in today, are weaker. But if we were in a lunar cycle, which we started over here on the May lunar eclipse, every lunar eclipse after that was very, very bearish. Okay, but we're not in that energy right now, so we don't need to be concerned with that. So what we've seen
Jordan,
recently, and to get back, sorry.
I'm sorry, Jordan. I didn't mean to interrupt. I wanted to ask if you could, because of what you just said, I thought it was very fascinating when the Terra Luna situation happened. What was going on with the moon at that time? Can you kind of refresh
Precisely.
everybody real quick about that? Because that's, to me, that's another great example of what we've seen. Because the October annular eclipse, solar annular eclipse we had, blood witness, we started going upward at that point. But going back into a lunar cycle, which is what we'll be approaching, you said March 14th or 15th of 2025, that's when the lunar eclipses and the lunar phases have more effect. What happened during the Terra Luna crash situation?
Sure. I'm going to try to share this screen with you because I think it'll make everything a lot cleaner. It's just going to be all the eclipses. Let me know if you could see it. Yep. So this is the lunar eclipse that we saw Terra Luna collapse on. Okay. If you go back in the charts of...
Literally, it happened in that time period. It's not like before or after. It was right there.
Wow.
Exactly. Yeah, so that was when Do Kwon and all the controversy and everything started unfolding. But it was the days leading into it that the news started to hit and stuff was going on with Binance. And yeah, so effectively on the lunar eclipse during the lunar cycle, the second to last lunar eclipse of a 2.5-year cycle, we watched this particular asset collapse after having one of the best bull runs, by the way. Like, I remember vividly how many people just would not stop talking about Solana and Terra Luna during this time, pretty much like in the 2021 April, May timeframe. Everyone was so bullish on it. And I reminded people many, many times, these are assets that are likely to lose 95% of their value into the next bear market. And I got a lot of shit for that. But even though Solana has been very bullish lately, anyone could go back and look at the bear market for Solana. It lost about 96% of its value from its all-time high. This is what happens during these particular phases. So this is important to know because I'm going to be singing the same song in January and February of next year before we have that lunar eclipse in March 2025. Right there, that should be the nail in the coffin, and we should start to see some things get just unravel. But that's what we see every cycle anyways in the timing of things. So getting back to the charts, I believe Crypto Blood had a specific question. I'm unsure of exactly what he was asking. So if you could just repeat the question, that'd be awesome. No, it's okay.
I guess I was asking about April 8th. And
okay.
how did that line up with things? And then I have a follow-up question for you.
Beautiful. So I'm going to try to make this look very clean for everyone. I'm going to remove this moving average, but I'll leave these lunar phases and quickly explain them for your audience. These blue dots are new moons. These white dots are full moons. So over here we had a lunar eclipse. And then on this blue dot, we had a solar eclipse. This solar eclipse was effectively a fake out because we see that all these gains were brought right back the following day. And then we started a downtrend that we're still in play. And we have the upcoming full moon on April 24th. So the way that this works is we're typically bullish, leaving a full moon into a new moon. And then we are bearish, leaving a new moon into a full moon. Rinse, repeat. It happens over and over and over again. You could see right here. This was the day that Bitcoin's ETF was approved on a new moon. I'm not making this up. Then we had a correction into the following full moon. Even though the ETF was approved, it was supposed to be bullish. But that doesn't matter because that doesn't run this market. Astrology does. So we saw that all of this bullish energy effectively moved us into this recent solar eclipse, and we've keeled over since. And we had a very bloody Saturday. If you look at almost any altcoin, most of them were down 20, 25%. So what's going on right now is it's showing you the power of Bitcoin. And a lot of people are saying, well, that was geopolitically charged and the war narrative, etc. Sure, whatever narrative they want to give you. But it's pretty amazing how it's all timed into these particular alignments. So we're moving into the halving. An exoteric thing, so something that's popular and well-known, is that we typically do correct into the halving. We have every single time. I mean, even the last one we had like on Cinco de Mayo or something. I believe it was around May 5th. And we got about, I want to say a 14% or so correction, like into the day of the halving. And then we bounced and we were not any lower than that particular day for the rest of the cycle, still to this day. So buying the halving is like an incredibly lucrative opportunity to DCA. I don't want to say go all in, but it's a lucrative opportunity to DCA because it's always kind of been a time frame where we get one of those last final shakeouts before recovery and continuation. But I believe the last time that we connected, I put a lot of emphasis on the cyclicality of the stock market for this year. And that's really what I think matters, to remind people that if they did not watch the last time that we connected, I was putting a lot of emphasis on how during this particular year, which is the year of the dragon in Chinese zodiac, we tend to see the stock market top out late March into early April. And then we get a pullback into May and we pivot around June. Then July and August are incredibly bullish, and we tend to move up into September. And most of the time during this particular year, the lowest we go is wherever we're headed in May. And it is the lowest we go for the entire year. The only time that that wasn't the case was in the dot-com bubble. And the second time that wasn't the case was during World War II. So unless we have like
Wow.
serious World War breakout, or we have something like the dot-com bubble occur, which could be a case, but not
I
necessarily
mean,
with
World War
tech stocks.
Three
It could
is
be
It's
sure.
yeah,
not
it's
too
lingering.
far. Yeah, exactly.
And then also, I was thinking about the whole sell in May, walk away thing, which is a very well known economic term when it comes to trading and stuff. So it kind of lines up in that aspect as well.
Yeah. And by the way, for the people that, because this happened to me last year when we were talking about sell in May and go away, there were so many people who didn't understand how to play, how that play works. So you don't literally sell in May. You always sell early, right? In the game of musical chairs, you don't want to be the last ass on the seat. So this is kind of tough to play, to be so specific, but it doesn't literally mean sell in May. It means get out
Look at
while we're
that.
up.
Look at that channel you have for S&P, and we've clearly broken out of that big
Yeah.
time.
And
Clearly.
this dotted line that I have here, by the way, I drew this on this chart at least 6 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
At least. And the reason I did that was not me just pulling it out of nowhere. I was looking at every year of the dragon going back to 1928, which was the start effectively of the Great Depression. So when we zoom in on the last year of the dragon, you see this line. It's on April 2nd close. We corrected into June. Then we go to the dot-com bubble. It was the same thing. Highest close was into late March, pivoted into this later March timeframe, a big drastic correction into April. And then we started the recovery off of late May, and we went up to a double top. Remember what I said? These are the only two iterations where we the show was over by Q4. It was dot-com bubble and World War II. And of course, both of those things are possible. I think not with the tech stocks, but I think we have a really serious issue with credit. We have a very big issue with
everything bubble.
what BRICS is doing. Yeah, it's an everything bubble, hyperinflation, so many new nations joining BRICS, de-dollarization. You guys get it. So here, same thing. Late March, April, corrected into late May. Buy the dip because it's glorious after.
Okay,
Were you ask a
so
question?
yeah, so if I'm reading that right, we're going to see a rollover in the stock market potentially into June / end of May.
Yeah.
I believe that Bitcoin is highly correlated with risk on assets like the stock market. So, are you predicting that we will see Bitcoin roll over or continue this move down into May, June, or what? How do you feel about that?
So the way I feel is that crypto moves faster. And typically when we have our flash crashes in crypto, it's happening sooner than it would at based on the speed of which it would take to happen in the indices. So I think we'd be splitting hairs here, but effectively by the end of this month into I want to say the third week of May, that should really be as low as we get. And it's depending on some factors. I could go over the technicals if you want. And that would be probably more helpful because timing the market is cute and all, but you need to have entries set, right? So I try to teach this with my work. We are trying to look at this from a different, In a very different way. The esoteric elements are being added in here with my work, but I'm not just like giving you a bunch of woo-woo bullshit and hoping for the best. Like, I'm a technical analyst and professional trader, and I think you get a lot more out of that than you would by trying
Mm-hmm.
to only use the esoteric stuff, because at the end of the day, you need to know what levels to enter, or you need to know when
Mm-hmm.
to de-risk. So I think that right now we're retesting a very critical level, and this is clearly a very weak chart after this double rejection at resistance.
Mm-hmm.
We're heading into this 1 month support level. And right here is our daily close to watch out for, this pivot between the 19th and 20th. That right there shows me that if we start to close dailies below this 61,000 level, I think we're going to slide down to 57 really quickly. And tapping on this previous trading range down here would be in alignment with a lot of other technical things to consider, one of which would be the 111-day moving average on the daily chart. Some of you out there might have heard of this from the pi cycle top indicator, which is very, very useful, actually. It's not the most accurate thing ever, but it gives you something to kind of gauge what we do around this particular phase of a bull run for a mid-cycle correction. The next thing would be the 21-week EMA, exponential moving average. So if I was to pull up this chart right here and just remove all the noise for you guys and pull up this orange moving average on the weekly chart, sitting right here at about 55, that's a very healthy level to backtest during a bull run. And one thing to mention to everyone is back in 2017, we had a really awesome bull run in Bitcoin, because during the whole time, let me turn off the lunar phases. I'll just remove all the moving averages except the 21 for you guys to make it nice and clean. And now you have this one moving average, and you could see throughout 2016 all the way till this blow off top, we kept revisiting over and over again this 21-week EMA. Then we would bounce off of there and just continue stair stepping up. I think that if we are mimicking this particular cycle, which we seem to be, and I could get into that if you'd like the reasons why I feel that way. But if we are mimicking this and we were to backtest the 21 EMA right now around 55, that would reset momentum. That would shake out a lot of loose hands. That would be a perfect, place to expect Bitcoin to kind of chill out after it's shaken so many people out, and then keep the show moving. And the timing of that would make the most sense for it to be sooner than later. So in this April timeframe into May, I would think that if we're going to break below 60, get into that 56, 57, we could slide into 52 really quickly. But I do feel we'll likely get bought back up above the 21 EMA. So we saw it happen here, big tail to the downside, bought back up here a little bit, here slightly. That would make sense. If we were to come back, slide below, maybe back test this area right here, the last big pivot, and then hold that 21 EMA. Anyone who gets in below this 21 EMA, it's probably as good as it's going to get before six-figure Bitcoin.
So you're talking like five weeks, maybe, if you want to do some serious dollar cost averaging. And I would, encourage people for the Bitcoin end. I was talking about it on a live stream yesterday, the website dcabtc.com. Check it out. It's a calculator that would explain to you how much you would have invested, how much it would be worth, percentage change, all that good information. You can go back a great deal of time. I was even doing it with like $1 a month starting 9 years ago. And that was crazy. If you would just invested $1 a month starting 9 years ago, how much money you would have, how much your US dollars would have turned into.
Yeah.
So I have a question for you regarding, let's start with what's most recent, and that is on our last episode, we talked about April 15th, and you said watch out for that. Did you see anything of importance or significance happen on that day? If not, why do you think? If so, kind of explain April 15th and that date, which was yesterday.
Yeah. So I don't know.
It's tax day. I don't know if it it's tax day. Is that what you're telling us to watch out for? Watch out for the IRS agents with guns.
Yeah.
With guns.
I'm not
At the same time.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure if there was something happening yesterday. All I know is I woke up today and a couple of people sent me this fire that happened at the Copenhagen Stock Exchange. And that I
Mhm.
find to be very fascinating because the last April 15th, like big ritual that happened was the fire at Notre Dame Cathedral.
Yeah, I remember
And
that.
this was a burning of a stock exchange building, and it's happening in Copenhagen, Denmark. And if anyone follows along my work, you'd know that I brought up the next thing to occur would likely be something in Scandinavia because of the World War II timeline and because the year 1940 mimics this particular year so closely. And the first big invasions that happened in 1940 was right after the April solar eclipse, and it was with Denmark and Norway. And then here we are, like within 24 hours of April 15th, we have this Copenhagen Stock Exchange building burning down. I think that's really weird. But the big event that everyone is aware of is something that just happened a couple days ago, is with the Iran Israel thing. And
Yes.
a lot of people started to assume, well, maybe we will have that retaliation happen yesterday. But
Mhm.
what I want to remind people of with the April 15th thing, and I've been very, very transparent about it, it's not like a 9/11 situation. It's never like that. What it is that it shows symbolism, and then that symbolism is likely to be in trigger events moving forward. So, for instance, one of the most popular April 15th events was the sinking of the Titanic. Now that barely killed anyone. It didn't change the world. It didn't. But what
No,
did it lead
it
to?
kind of did. It
Exactly,
kind
and
of
that's what
changed
I'm
the
getting
world.
to. It did, but not immediately. It changed the world a year later, pretty much. Over a year later, actually. So yes, it led to other trigger events that went to the creation of the Federal Reserve System, sure. But that's kind of what I've been saying all along. Like, don't expect a 9/11, but expect something to that kind of connects the dots to what we can anticipate moving forward. And I think it's clear that war is a big theme right now. And well, I don't know how to talk about it in a way that doesn't sound doom and gloom, you know? Every time I see myself coming back to this war thing, it's like it sucks to even discuss because it's not
Mhm.
fun. And a lot of people
Mhm.
over the past month or so have been coming over to me and being like, I can't wait for the April 15th thing or I can't wait. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, you know that I don't want anything to happen, right? Like, I'm not a
Like it's
psychopath. Like, why
entertainment
would
for
I?
people.
Yeah, like it hurts me to even know and have the predictive analysis in my pocket. Like, I don't want people to die and suffer so
Right.
that you can buy the fucking dip. Like, are you crazy?
Right.
Well, they say. I mean,
But this
it's
is
the
like people
saying
are
is buy
manifesting
when there's
other
blood on
people.
the street. Buy when there's
Yeah.
blood on the street, even when it's your own.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
but that's not the
funny.
kind of guy I am. Like, I know the
Oh, I
Right.
get
truth
it. No, I
and
get it. Neither am I.
So I
I'm
got a
not hoping
question
for
then.
destruction and yeah, continue.
Right. No, no, no. I'm with you fully there. So here's my question though, because on last, you know, kicking this session, you said the fourth solar eclipse occurs on September 30th, right? So then I
October
asked
2nd.
you October 2nd.
Yes, sir.
Oh, I don't know. I have September 30th on there, but okay, October 2nd. So that's
Correct.
not too far off. All right. So October 2nd. Let me move my line up because I've come up with my own analysis and theory on what's going to happen here. So you said 90, that marks the top of the cycle, but then I just heard you say something about March 15th or 14th of
No,
2025.
no, I didn't say that the solar eclipse marks the top of the cycle. I said that after that eclipse, expect the top to start showing itself. And I probably
Okay,
said that on the
gotcha.
last time we connected. I didn't mention that
You
today.
no, yeah, no, you did.
But I
You
did
did.
mention the lunar eclipse of March in 2025 for sure.
Yeah, because you
Okay.
mentioned the ending of the solar phase and the beginning of the next
Correct.
lunar phase, next bear
Correct.
market.
So
So
when we
after
looked,
the October 2nd solar eclipse is when we've seen these intense expansions in the crypto market. And it's
okay,
not before that. That's why it was very weird for us in February, a year early, to watch Bitcoin go straight back to retesting all-time highs. We were sort of ahead of schedule based on our lunar and solar eclipse theory. So as much as it is theoretical, it's showing itself in the charts. And it was likely that if we were to have new all-time highs, that it would have been more around July, August, but we got that earlier. But I must say this, and it's obvious now, we're on day 50 of retesting the 60 plus K range. That's not price discovery. That was a manipulated to get a quick all-time high bull trap. Like, because it was all narrative driven. It was not technical.
Yes.
Look at the altcoin charts. Look at all the shit coins that rose out of nowhere. This wasn't a technical play. This was a story. It was news. And you think the elite are buying 70K Bitcoin? They're not retarded. Like they're not going to buy those levels. They're sucking you in at those levels, and then they're going to pull it back, which we're watching, and probably pull it back a little bit more, and then they'll keep it going. So we usually see these new all-time highs in price discovery by the 4th solar eclipse of the solar cycle, but we usually don't top out that early. We get a couple more months after that to expand a little more.
Right. So to my point is that we looked back on our last session. We looked back at the prior 4th solar eclipses, and it came out to be, at least the ones we looked at, came out to be about 60 to 90 day plus or minus before the time.
Precisely.
Okay. So that puts us around January, like 5th or 7th or something around there. How do you feel about that, with you also saying that March 15th could possibly be so do you think it's just going to delay out until maybe the March time frame before we actually see the top, or how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I could actually show you. Let me pull this up really quickly. I got to just find this chart. I hope that I could find it. But it'll show all these. Yep, beautiful. I'll go to a weekly. I'll turn off these moons. And now we just have the eclipses. Okay. So I just want to look at our last cycle, because this is the one that, like, it's the most home to all of us. Right here, when this 55% correction happened, it was on a lunar eclipse. This was the lunar eclipse that started the lunar cycle. But after that, we did move up. And then right here on the December timeframe, we had another lunar eclipse, the second lunar eclipse of the lunar cycle. And that's when all things started to correct. But between this eclipse and this eclipse right here, the alt season was already over here. So we got sucked into exactly the April timeframe when almost everything topped out. I'm aware that, maybe Solana, ETH came up into the second top, but for the most part, it was all over by May of 2021. Most of the liquidity was gone by then. And then Bitcoin had its glory. It barely made a new all-time high, by the way. ETH barely made a new all-time high. Whatever did make all-time highs then, it barely did. But it was all mostly here that we would all agree, as whether you're technical or you're not, this was the top. It was in April 2021. And what triggered all of this being over, all of this bullish energy being said and done with, was the lunar eclipse that happened in May of 2021. So every lunar eclipse after that marked more downside, more bearishness. But there is something clear to me and obvious, that we can still have a bullish expansion during a lunar cycle, but it doesn't mean for everything. And it doesn't mean that's where we'll be seeing those 1,000% gains that we'll be seeing in the altcoin market. So over here, we have the 4th solar eclipse on October 2nd, and then March 15th, I believe, is the lunar eclipse. Between these two time frames, we could have a lot go down on the world stage that could lead to expansion, particularly in Bitcoin. But the one thing about Bitcoin is it's never hit an all-time high outside of Q4. It hasn't. Wow. So this is just kind of fascinating. Over here, this top that we had was December. Over here, this top we had was December. Over here, this top was November. It would be weird for us to hit all-time highs in like March, April. But I do have one final thing to say about all of this. Is you see this shit right here where we went up and had like a double cycle? Well, we did that in April. So if Bitcoin wants to do this all over again, I wouldn't be surprised, just because of one important keynote. This was during the year of the snake, meaning this was during the year of the dragon. Well, we're currently in the year of the snake. So if
Wait,
this
what
was to
year is
happen
that?
again,
2013?
this is 2012 into 2013. And you see, we hit
Okay,
the all-time high effectively still in December. So we could theoretically have Bitcoin go all the way up into like maybe March around that lunar eclipse. Then over here, we had a devastating correction. That was an 80% correction in just a couple weeks. And then we were sideways for about 200 days, the third, three-fourths of a year. And then we finished off the cycle with one last impulse. So all those people out there that are anti $500,000 Bitcoin, like the people that think it's impossible, that's the one example that I could point a finger at that says it's possible. We can go
So
up
I
to like 150, maybe 200 now by Q4, and then
so I
expand a
got
little more.
into I got into
Sorry,
Bitcoin in March of 13, and I'm trying to remember. Give me that spike area. I think was that Mount. When did Mount Gox occur?
it was during the
Uh,
beginning stages of price discovery. So it was like right when Bitcoin was breaking out into the $50 territory.
yeah, cause okay, so I was
Damn,
I can't
You're
remember.
an OG, fam.
Oh
Yes,
yeah,
it
Holy
started
shit.
in it
oh yeah.
started in 2010, but I don't know if it was. I mean, it was
No, I'm just
handling.
trying to think if that area. I remember. I mean, I got in March of 13, so I'm just trying to
And it says
remember
it operated between 2010 and 2014. I don't have the specific date in 2014, but
what operated. What are
Mount
you saying?
Gox.
Oh, Mount Gox. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But I'm just it definitely happened in like end of 13 or something like that. But it was something else that happened then. It was Cyprus, the Russian situation where the billionaires were leaving and putting money into
Banks.
Bitcoin. Yeah, they were having these what do you call them, bell-ins, right? And so Bitcoin, I remember, did like kind of double really quickly from where it was, and I think it was caused because of that. Waters above is what I'm saying. I recall that. So maybe that was an anomaly. Maybe that was just because of an external event that we saw that spike that you're
Yeah.
talking about. Is what I'm saying. Yeah.
It was an eclipse ritual, just like all of them. Like they're
Mm.
all perfectly happen to be on eclipses. It's
So
laughable.
are these things
Cyprus
so
was end of
strange?
March 2013.
See, that's it. Yeah, yeah, that's
The
exactly
The
when I.
Cypriotic financial
Yeah,
crisis.
yeah, I got in early March, and I remember it very shortly after getting into Bitcoin, that whole thing
March
happened.
25th. Yeah.
So my
Yeah, this is
question
a
is, oh, go ahead, go
Mhm.
ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna share. This is a chart that shows something that I'm gonna release soon with a little bit more
Okay,
detail, but it shows you where all the fourth solar eclipses are and
okay.
the relationship that Bitcoin has with this trend line, this macro trend line that's been in place since that spike on June 2011. And I'll have a full comprehensive video coming out on this to kind of like lay to rest all the people that think Bitcoin won't go to six figures or all the
Mm-hmm.
people that think that a $500,000 Bitcoin is impossible. Now, I'm not
Mm-hmm.
playing a side here. I'm not trying to pick a team. I'm just showing you the data, and this is clear to me.
Right.
After the fourth solar eclipse, we have a massive amount of expansion. It happens very quickly, but the amount of time that we stay above this particular trend line before we break down into the bear market lows is a very calculated amount of time. So I'll get into that in a future video, but just for today, we get
Nice.
above this trend line during after the fourth solar eclipse, leading into the lunar cycle. So this right here of 2025 would be March lunar eclipse. That would be having Bitcoin above $380,000. So unless this is the
Mm.
cycle that invalidates everything that's going on here, then I believe that it's possible for Bitcoin to go above 300,000.
Mm.
So, this year, then,
By
right?
March, I
Well,
think you're saying by March, by that lunar eclipse in March, like March 15th, 2025.
Okay, gotcha.
yes, we should be able to get
Interesting.
back above this line after October 2nd. I'm not saying on October 2nd, but after. And the time amount, I believe Crypto Blood brought up earlier, but if you're just taking the last two cycles, this was about 120. This one over here was about 100. 120. So if you took
Mm.
120 days out from this particular date, that would bring you into February. of 2025.
Okay, February. Okay, so I was off a
And
little bit.
what that means is we could be at 500,000 by December or January,
Yes,
and we could
right.
be down retesting this trend line. You know, like I really
Exactly.
nobody knows at this point, but I want to let people know a $500,000 Bitcoin means
Bad.
$20
Yeah, it
tank of
means
gas.
it
Yeah,
means the
yeah,
dollar
bad.
isn't really worth
It's
very
not all
much.
exactly.
It
Yeah,
means
Exactly.
so
a debasement of our fiat currency taking place
So
further
I
and
mean, it
further.
lines up with what you're saying because we've got to hit, not got, we have to, but we've only hit all-time highs in the fourth quarter. So it needs to happen
so
now.
far.
The
And
time is now.
even in the last cycle, it almost felt like
Well,
it
this
wasn't going to
fourth
happen
quarter.
because we had this huge correction in May 2021. But what did Bitcoin do? It just magically gravitated right back up to Q4 of the same year. It was like it was seriously magic because of the doubt I remember hearing back in May of 2021. Everyone was very confident that it was all over. And I mean, that's kind of what the market maker does. They're always playing on that sentiment. They're always playing on what's trending, or they're creating the algorithm. Obviously, they're letting it flood into particular nooks and crannies of, the what's trending on
Memes,
purpose. Yeah,
RWAs.
precisely.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what they're going to do this time around because it seems that Bitcoin is now given this more sophisticated role in the future of finance and everything tied back to the Bitcoin ETF and BlackRock. But at the same time, BlackRock is no longer esoteric. Like everyone knows about BlackRock now, or at least has heard of the term BlackRock. And what I think also is going on simultaneously is they're considered bad people. Like most people think that they are bad guys. They're buying up everything. They're buying all the houses. They're buying up all the land. Like they're buying up fucking farmland in Ukraine right now. Like why is BlackRock buying Ukrainian farmland? Okay, but like
So you
everyone and
own
their
nothing,
mother agrees.
they can own everything, and you can be happy.
Sure,
They want you to be
and
happy, Jordan.
I find that pretty interesting how they are making BlackRock out to be the bad guys, buying up everything, taking away this opportunity for ownership for the everyday man. But then also it's positive for crypto because they're buying Bitcoin. You see how like weird that duality tug of war is?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
So
Yeah.
the
it's
Start
weird
the
like a
fire,
lot of
then call the firemen in.
the other
Right.
and they're
duality part
making
of it is a lot of BlackRock's money is actually other people's money. It's the people who actually despise and supposedly hate BlackRock that are the ones giving BlackRock the money to be able to do everything that they're doing, because this isn't all BlackRock's money. They're using money they have under management, which is
sure.
insane.
Yeah, and because of their power and their posture in this whole conversation, they get crazy low interest rates on all this money they're being given. So why not, right? What would you do in their position, right? You'd probably buy housing and Bitcoin too. Like it just is what it is. So I think that yeah, we're turning into a world where we like want the bad guy to be the winner because we're talking about the new next ETF as if it's always bullish. Like people are like the ETH ETF is going to pass. That's bullish. The XRP ETF is going to pass. And you want to know why that's insane? Because it's only built off of 2 or 3 months of data. Like, you know how stupid you sound when you're a scientist
Exactly.
that uses 0.001% of all of the data to prove do I need to continue? Doesn't that
No,
sound
it
No,
just
dumb?
it just
no,
stalls it
no.
stalls networks and really defeats the purpose of why cryptocurrency was created as well. Because I mean, like with this Bitcoin ETF, right now we're looking at just in the United States with the TradFi institutions owning over or around 4% of the actual total circulating supply of Bitcoin. Now we got the Hong Kong stuff that just got passed. So we're going to see more and more institutions owning the actual Bitcoin, and it's just going to be locked up and it's not going to move. And it basically, we're not going to see very much on-chain activity because of this, which reduces why this thing was created. Bitcoin in particular, as per the Satoshi Nakamoto white paper for Bitcoin, talking about a peer-to-peer cash. They can't be that when it's all just locked up and basically
Yeah.
stalled out, throttled.
Yeah. So the utility of it isn't important, like at all. Like it's just it's serving its purpose almost like what they used to say, a digital gold.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it's being
Yeah.
used. And ultimately it's being used as leverage over other economies. And I mean, That's why El Salvador is doing what they're doing. Whether that be because they're part of this, they're part of the system, or because it's their only saving grace in a failing or what I shouldn't call it a failing fiat system. It was designed to fail. We know that, but
Right.
it's just being early on the evolution of it, just like being an early investor. It's really no different.
Yeah.
But I guess to wrap up the whole thought here on this, it's just I hope people are aware of the ramifications of a $500,000 Bitcoin is not a time to be jumping up and clicking your heels together, because that means your next burrito is going to cost you fucking $40.
Right.
So,
I mean,
yay.
there's already $20 Big Macs. So we already got $20
Yeah.
Big Macs, a $40 Taco Bell burrito that used to be on the 99-cent menu 5 years ago is definitely not out of the question.
Yeah, so the Weimar Republic 2.0 is coming to a theater near you.
Yeah, interesting. So I do have, I don't know, Rice, if you have any other questions for Waters. I do have a question from one of my YouTube premium members, if we can ask that. And then Rice, if you have any final questions, that would be great. I mean, it's been, we're about 48 minutes into it, but it's been pretty condensed and terse with information. I think
It feels
I
a lot
definitely
longer.
Yeah, it does. It really does. I feel like I've grabbed some new info that and updated my target date. So really thankful for you on that. The question that I have here, Waters, is he Offnear asks, what do you think of the work of GAN, and do you see it being used, or do you use it? What's your take on GAN? I guess GAN charts and stuff.
Yeah, so I have yet
I
to
don't know if that's-
study. I have yet to study GAN in depth. I am aware, but I don't use any of the strategies. I'll let them know my background is in studying Richard Wyckoff. So I was predominantly using the Wyckoff method in most of my trading setups and theory on horizontal trading ranges and awareness of when we're into overbought or oversold territory and how to react accordingly, and just market structure. Like I like to call Wyckoff method the market compass, because it kind of lets you know whatever chart you're pulling up, you can determine where you're at in it and where you're likely to go. But I have no research or I have yet to dive into the work of GAN. But I assume that it's something that is in harmony with all the other stuff that I do. And perhaps it could be very useful for me to get into. The same thing with like Elliott wave theory. I'm not really too but hey, I'll wrap up the thought really quickly with this. I'm a huge proponent of like picking something that I know that works and just sticking there. Because once you try to learn like 17 other art forms, it kind of destroys your opportunity at mastery. And also it makes you copy so many people. So I feel what I want people to get when they come to my work, when they find my channel, I want them to be like, holy shit, I've never seen this before. And the way that this guy is doing this is now motivating me to do something unique. As opposed to you coming to my channel and being like, oh, he's doing Elliott wave and GAN and this, that, and the third. And then you're left with like, well, what is he? Who is he?
Yeah.
And
What alpha
I
are
think
you
that
bringing?
yeah, so for me, I've decided to like the wisdom that I've walked away from studying Wyckoff method was enough to get me going and to get me on the path towards mastery. And I've been able to apply all these other things that I've gotten and just provide this very unique analysis. I sort of feel at this point, if I was to start diving into Elliott wave and GAN and et cetera, that it would derail my accuracy and my projections, my outlook. And it's been working, so why try to what's the saying?
Yeah, no, it makes sense. If it's not broke, don't fix it, baby. You know what I'm saying? That's what it is. So another question, Aquarius Era. What are your thoughts about the Aquarius Era and the vibrations that are setting the in the end of the year? You know,
As in the age of Aquarius?
yes.
Okay, so I have an interesting stance on this, and it has a lot to do with symbolism and studying the end of ages in the past. So biblically, we can see there's a time frame and transition between Old Testament, New Testament, where all of the ram symbolism or all of the symbolism of the age of Aries was removed, and any worship of that particular symbol would lead to your downfall, death, execution, etc.
Oh
You'd be
man, I'm an
sacrificed.
Aries. Oh my God. Oh, that's a damn shame.
So back in that time frame of transitioning out of age, you saw the removal of the symbols of the old age. Now,
Yeah.
if we wanted to entertain for a moment that we're in the transition phase from Pisces to
Yes.
Aquarius, I
Mm-hmm.
know that we are because we're not fully cashless. We still have paperwork. We still utilize paperwork in order to have access and privilege to things, but we are getting very, very close to all of that going away and it being replaced by some sort of digital form of those things. But we're not there yet, right? So until we see all the cash go away, all the coins go away, all the passports switch from paper passports to these digital ones, until you see your driver's license go away and it becomes some sort of QR code on your phone, then we're still in this what I call transition age. We're not there yet, but we have made some progress. And blockchain cryptocurrency will be one of the main themes of the Aquarian age. And we're here, but it's not quite as popular as some of you might think. We have only about 4% of the global population of the world actually invests in crypto, and it's only 0.5% of the world's money. So we're not even close. Bitcoin is definitely leading, like in many of these. Like if it wasn't for Bitcoin, we wouldn't even be close because Bitcoin's market cap is like top 10 market cap out of any company on earth. So Bitcoin's really kind of carrying everyone in the backpack right now. And I think this next cycle will eventually lead to some sort of regulatory change and that the regulations will be very Aquarian. And then we'll start seeing more development. But until then, we have paperwork. We are still using passports. We still have cash coming out of ATMs. We still have ATMs. I mean, that's not Aquarian. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but it's part of the transition into Aquarius. Now, the final things to say about this is I think this year is very pivotal in in our trajectory towards the Aquarian age, and that means that all the symbolism of this Piscean age, which is Neptune, Poseidon symbolism or Jupiter symbolism, has to go away.
Mm.
Now, I want everyone who's listening to this go look up the original logo of the Paris Summer Olympics, and you're going to see that it is the symbol of Jupiter. So we still have this Jupiter symbolism right in our faces. Also, we're in this year of 2024. That 24 ties back to Jupiter. It's literally the symbol of Jupiter is the 24. We have a lot that we could get into now esoterically, but just to keep it
Wow.
on the rails, there's so much Jupiterian symbolism this year, and there's still a lot of Neptunian symbolism. And that tells me that we're not there quite yet. But the bad thing about all of this is that Hollywood has predictively programmed us with expectation of a blackout and a civil war, but also the blackout seems to be the main theme. Now, what is Aquarian? It's electricity, like Uranian. Uranus is electricity, the electric age. That's why we won't have gas cars anymore. That's another thing I should have brought up earlier. We'll only have electric cars. That's also very Aquarian. Now, that's probably the best place to stop without getting too deep into the matter, but
Isn't
we
Aquarian
are
water?
likely.
Isn't
Yeah,
Aquarian though
that
a water-based sign?
yes, and that's actually kind of confusing for a lot of people because I am a teacher of the mythology and the symbolism, and I spend a lot more time there than just typical astrology teachings. Like when you get to astrology stuff, they're going to start going over these concepts that they've learned from other astrologers, whilst I have taken the time to get into actually decoding the symbolism. So Aquarius
Mm.
is the man bearing the pitcher of water, and this is brought up in the New Testament in the Bible. You'll find me in the
Right.
house bearing the pitcher of water, right? So this is because it is pouring through the air, but it's also giving us a flood symbolism, right? And we know that the last cataclysm was a flood. Well, at least
Younger Dryas.
that's what they say.
Yeah.
So I think what this blackout symbolism is, why they keep bringing it up in every fucking thing they make, right? Every post-apocalyptic movie or television show is always showing you some sort of like civil unrest, civil war, blackout, reset, right? And we've already heard the World Economic Forum straight up tell us Great Reset. I think what they're telling us with that is that we're going to have an energy blackout. That will be the reset into the new age. So I don't know when that's going to happen, but if I had to put my final stance on what the Aquarian age is and when it will be here, it will be whenever that blackout is. That will be the moment when we know full blown there's no more gasoline in this world anymore. There's no more paper that's going to be used in this world anymore. That is the ordo ab chaos, okay? Order out of chaos. That's their Hegelian kind of, problem reaction solution. So in order to
Hmm.
push us into a time that we don't actually want, they need an event. And Hollywood has been great at showing us that and an alien invasion. And that's a whole other conversation. So I'll just stop that there.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to have you back on that topic. Rice.
Yeah, just real quick, Waters. I'm curious, just from your research, because I know you look into other cryptocurrencies in addition to Bitcoin. Are there any other coins that you're expecting to have big breakouts this year based off your research using the technical analysis combined with the numerology, astrology, and gematria?
hmm Yeah, there's two that are really fascinating. One is VTHO. It's this governance token of VeChain, specifically because the symbolism of VTHO is a lightning bolt. And I just talked to you guys about Jupiter. Well, Jupiter's key symbol is the lightning bolt. Another one would be T Fuel, which is the governance of Theta token. T Fuel's symbolism is a flame, fire. We are in the year of the dragon. Dragon breathes fire. We also see that the newer Olympics logo for the Paris Summer Olympics is a flame. I feel that is probably going to do very good. I also think Dogecoin is going to do very well because it is this gold symbolism, again, very much tied to the year of the dragon. Um, those are just a couple that I could pull out like straight away. And then I would say the sectors that are up and coming. So T Fuel is a smart play, anyways, just because of this gaming thing and streaming. But then anything gaming and anything AI, I think is pretty self-explanatory. Another thing would be tokenization of other sectors. So, like we see what's happened with Proppy. I don't know if that could keep going, but Proppy has been on an absolute just straight line breakout. I think it's due for a decent correction soon. But like tokenization of housing and real estate is very Aquarian. So you want to get in on shit like that. I'm not telling you to FOMO into Proppy right now, but just keep that kind of stuff in mind. Like the tokenization of something physical is very Aquarian. It's very preparation kind of into the new age. And then lastly, I would take a look at Jupiter token, because it's just straight up called Jupiter. That in my opinion, as a newer
I just
listed
gave away
token,
Jupe last week, actually. Just
yeah.
gave away Jupiter
So
token
it's
last week.
it had about a 300% move. I could show you the chart real quick if you guys want to see kind of
Sure.
the
Sure.
quick TA on it. Yeah. So this is the daily chart on Jupe. It's not really enough data to have a thorough TA on, but I do a weekly podcast over on my Patreon at patreon.com/watersabove. And I covered this one due to the symbolism that I'm teaching everyone. And community members were like, Waters, have you heard of Jupiter? And I'm like, no. Because I'm like Patrick Starr living under a rock. Like I don't
Right.
research. I don't know what the fuck's going on. So they told me about this. I did some TA on it, and then I drew these two key lines over here at 66 and 80 cents. And I said that's probably the backtest zone after we hit this 1618 over here. And well, we just pierced through that a couple days ago, and now we're closing these dailies, coming straight back, nose diving to 80 cents. So I think that this might be one of the last good buying opportunities on one of these types of projects before it goes parabolic. Like I think the 4236 will be hit shortly after that. So it's not the craziest gains on earth compared to some other things, but it's a technical play. And these speculative altcoins, they could go up tens of thousands of percent for no reason,
Yes.
just because they're riding the wave of Bitcoin price discovery. So get into
So,
speculative altcoins before Bitcoin price discovery.
got you. So speaking of that, you said sectors or categories, and that triggered me on the category of altcoins called meme coins. What is your take on meme coins? I think they're going to be and continue to be very huge and long lasting within our society. what's your take? I mean, Doge you talked about is the OG meme coin, but tell us your take on the meme sector as a whole.
I think that we're still very immature, like spiritually, as a species. So I think memes speak to the majority, and it took a Doge or a Shiba to
Oh,
get more attention to the sector.
thanks, Waters. Thanks for calling me immature. Thank you.
No,
Appreciate it.
it's not
I'm just
about
playing.
that, because
I'm just
yeah,
playing.
it's definitely what I teach is
playing.
that you don't want to, and so many others say this too, don't hate it, don't date it, just trade it. Like if you have an opportunity for an entry and it fits into your investment thesis, you'd be dumb not to make the play. And like, is there, first and foremost, Dogecoin chart, as a technical analyst, I am very clear, it is one of the best charts in the whole sector. It's better than the ETH chart. It's better than, I can't name a better chart.
Wow.
It's second to Bitcoin. Like and anyone wants to come at me and say I'm wrong, well,
You're
show
saying
me the other
Doge?
chart then.
Yes,
Doge.
Okay.
Doge.
Do good every
the
day.
chart-
Do good every day.
It is the best looking chart, has the most data available to analyze. It is very cyclical on when it breaks out, and the style of breakout it has is always to a very particular technical target. Why wouldn't I play that? I don't care if it's a fucking meme. Like it's a trade.
It's crazy to have this conversation knowing that it was created as literally a
meme.
joke.
It's
a joke.
Yeah.
Like it
I was
wasn't.
there,
It wasn't.
bro.
It wasn't even intended to be.
No, bro, you don't
seriously.
understand. Like I
So
was there in the
this is
original
powerful.
Doge community. Yeah, I was there. Like we literally, it was a joke. We were sending people to we gave money to the Jamaican bobsled team. The guy Jeff Wise, the race car guy. It was a joke, bro. And I'm so mad because I was mining millions and millions. Sound like Donald Trump, billions and billions of coins, and it did nothing for many years. And then came Elon Musk.
Yeah,
and he changed the game. He changed.
Yeah,
very
and
interesting.
It's funny because I just brought this up to Rice prior to us starting this podcast today, and I was telling him how I'm actually working on a new project that I'm about to release, hopefully before the end of this month. And I'm not trying to make it a plug. It's the thing that's kind of bringing together a lot of the. It's a frequently asked question that I get. Like, Waters, when are you going to make a beginner level decoding crypto thing? So I'm making this decoding crypto blueprint. Literally, that's what it's going to be called. It's going to be created for beginners, but it's going to go into everything like admiralty, maritime commerce law, the language of money, the law of money. It's going to give people way more than they expected. So the Doge conversation is so important because look at this fucking chart. This is undeniable. Like if I just pull off of this horizontal, I'll actually be generous. I'll go off of here.
Share your screen for us.
Apologies.
All good.
You're good.
Yeah. So this type of chart, I mean, you can't. What are you going to say bad about this? This is 3 clear, definitive, insane bull runs with really solid reaccumulation ranges. But if I was to just be generous and pull it off of this area right here, to today, we're up 80,000% off of the last bull run, same area, almost 30,000%. And it's been doing this on at a particular time frame, measuring from all-time high to the breakout, all-time high to the breakout. And we're there. It is time. It is time to FOMO into Doge. I started my accumulation on Doge because I'm like, this is too pretty. So if I was to pull up the fibs here, you'll see what it did. Swing high to swing low, 1618. Swing high to swing low, 1618. Quick rejection. We went even higher. So the last cycle was better than the first cycle. How many coins can you say that? Like
none, except for Bitcoin.
None.
Well, again, it's
Except
because
for
of the
Bitcoin.
Elon factor.
Well, you could bring Elon into this, but then, I mean, or it's just he is used. He has a handler that tells him when to jump, and he says how high.
You're saying he's a puppet?
Of course. Who isn't at his level? They're paid actors.
The way he's acting, I don't know, man. I'm gonna have to disagree with that one. I don't think he's running the program. I don't think he's running with the program, but we'll see.
And there's
Only
some
time will
interesting
tell.
speculation about him being Satoshi, and I'm not saying
Nah,
that he is, not saying that he is, but there is some interesting speculation and interesting evidence.
Well, I find it fascinating that people and it's not to disagree with you, Crypto Blood. So I'll just share
no,
my
you can.
stance on
Hey,
this.
you can disagree. I want you to actually. It makes for
Well,
good.
I find it interesting for someone to come out publicly and say that once we put AI in the limbic system that we're done. Like singularity is underway, but then yet runs a company that is
Neuralink.
doing
Yeah,
that. And then
yeah,
also is talking about all of these other like sovereign sort of issues that are
yeah.
being, impeded upon, especially during the C19 phase. But
Hmm.
he flat out said what he wants to do with X Corp, X.com, which is effectively becoming Alipay. So,
Yes.
Yeah,
I
the
mean,
U.S. version of Alipay, or
yeah,
or
like,
the or the everything but China Alipay.
sure. So, I mean, is it pretty obvious that he's just winning off of popularity and the fact that he's quote unquote innovative? But we have to remind ourselves a lot of the companies that he's involved in, he just bought, he invested in,
Right.
became a major
Right.
shareholder, and then took over from
Tesla.
there. He's
Yeah.
not
Hmm.
innovative. There's nothing innovative about this dude. He's just the guy that was born in the particular family. He serves a particular role for this movement into the age of Aquarius. He is Daddy Aquarius.
When you say particular family, what do you mean by that? Maybe I'm not aware of.
His
What do you
dad, I
mean?
mean, that's where his start of his money came from, was his father. His father's
Okay.
a weirdo. His father has had, I'm not sure if they've had children. I think he's had 2 kids with his stepdaughter,
Hmm.
which Elon's half
Sick.
sister. He,
Good
he's
guy.
he's he's kind of the same mentality as Elon, as we're put on this earth to procreate. Like
Right.
I just need to make as many babies as I possibly can, whether it's
Yeah,
with
I
my
did.
stepdaughter or not.
Yeah, I did know he had a lot of kids as well, and yeah, I mean,
Well, that's not a
he's
problem. If you
definitely
want to have kids, great. Like if you're a good father, then awesome. Keep having kids as
right.
long as you could be a leader to them. There's nothing wrong with that. It's when you have kids that
Right.
you can't be a leader to, then what are you doing? Right?
Right.
But
Right.
getting back to this, because I don't like talking about somebody that I'm not speaking to, and I'm not trying to disrespect Elon or anything like that. I just want to clear the air
Hmm.
on some of the obvious
Don't
points.
shadow ban us, Elon.
No, we were already shadow
I'm
banned,
not worried
so
about I'm not worried about him. But okay, so you were asking me about meme coins, I believe.
yes,
Like
yes.
my stance on meme coins. So I think they
Hmm.
serve a great purpose of bringing more attention, and attention is
Yes.
money. And
Uh-huh.
money is what we need in order for this stuff to do what everyone desires it to do, right? For charts go up. So the
Yep.
reason I think Doge is so successful is because all the campaigns that have come along at the particular times, they had support behind the campaign, as opposed to something like XRP, which it's obvious that they have all of these things that they could coordinate as a group of investors. And I'm talking about the XRP army. They could coordinate and then actually take over, and you would see price appreciation, but they don't. They talk a lot, they make a lot of YouTube videos, but they don't actually invest in this thing, and they don't actually take action. So they're talking like they're ready for the 589 or whatever, but they don't actually have themselves positioned. And it's obvious when
that's
you look at the charts.
that's
So
hilarious.
I think the Dogecoin community cult, they're speaking and then doing. They're actually investing in this thing and they're holding through it. There's been mostly just panic selling, and then also, and going back to the Ripple thing, the XRP thing, it's mostly just panic selling, and it's mostly just a lot of talk, and that's harmful when it's only talk. I mean, there's nothing wrong with a little bit of both,
Well, well,
but I think
when you
that's
have
where,
when you have only talk from the guys that lead the organization, then what do you expect? You know,
sure.
in my
And I'm not
opinion.
trying
So
to be
that's a whole
negative
nother.
about them because, yeah, XRP is my second biggest holding, but I've traded it actively since the day I started getting involved in it. And that's been kind of my take. It's a trader's coin. It's a brilliant coin to play on these swings because that's another project that just breaks out 100% in a single day, like no problem. And I think that meme coins, to stay on subject, are going to be here for a little while longer, but I have a feeling that what's going on Solana right now is going to end it. Like the Baltimore bridge that collapsed a couple weeks ago, they made a fucking meme coin out of that
Oh yeah, I
on the
saw it.
Solana blockchain. Like,
Yeah,
can we just take a second to point out how disgusting you must be as a
bro, I've
human
seen
being to do
worse
such a thing?
on there. Yeah,
Yeah, we got
it's
some
crazy.
bad
Sure.
humans today, man. We got some very, very bad
But I
humans.
don't. Hey,
But this
but
isn't
see,
an
that's the
elite
thing,
doing
Waters.
this. Like, this isn't like Klaus Schwab is doing. This is a basic human being, like nerd, with
Yes,
Cheeto dust
low,
fingertips, sitting on
low
a fucking beanbag
vibrations.
chair,
Yeah, sure.
acting like they're funny. And it's like, I'm not even offended. I'm just pointing out that we don't have any class. This crypto market has no class anymore. And maybe it never did.
No, I never
So
did. No, I never did.
when you're
It's
trying to be, when
grow
you're
up to
trying
have
to have
class.
some class and you're trying to be an educator, you're trying to actually help people. In my position, it's hard to recommend these memes. You know, I feel weird even talking about Doge, but I can't turn my eye to one of the most glorious charts of all time. That would just be inconsistent with truth.
Yeah,
Like,
your
we have
FOMO.
performance.
I could feel your FOMO, dude. When you were talking about it, I could totally feel it in your emotions, the excitement. It was like a fire lit up inside of you.
I
Yeah.
think the meme motif is going to continue on longer than many of the other ones. I mean, Doge is the prime example. It's still here since 2014. Okay,
Yeah.
so
And how do you guys feel about it, though? Do you think that, like, things like Pepe and all of that, do you think they still have juice in the fruit, or is this just like a one-hit wonder sort of deal?
I don't think there's a method to the madness, in all honesty. So I mean, it's like you can invest in 10 projects and maybe have one or two that are successful. I don't
Sure.
really. It's not.
can't
There's no TA. There's most
I
of these
can't
coins don't
speak
have
on
websites, no utility, no actual purpose except for people to enrich
speculate.
themselves, which I'm not
Yeah.
against, but just saying.
Yeah, I can't speak on any specific one other than the first one, which is Doge for the most part. I think that was pretty much the first meme coin. I have to think about that, but um, that other than that, Waters, I just talk about it and assess it from a broader perspective, and I think the meme motif will continue to live here within the crypto ecosystem because what is the internet? The internet is just a bunch of memes. You know, our
Sure.
society is a bunch of
It's
memes. Are made
memes
up
and porn.
of memes and porn. There you go. Round of applause.
Yeah.
So
Funny.
yeah, I think it's just going to continue to pop up over and over again, Every bull cycle. Is it going to be a new one?
But
Yes. You know.
don't
But
you agree, like, when you watch any TV show or any movie that shows this post-apocalyptic world, like, there's this doom kind of, like, I want to just say everyone looks emotionless. Like, there is no room for fun in that new world. Like, even a lot of the movies that have come out show a world where you're not even allowed to have emotion. I'm not saying that's where we're going to go right now, but
yes.
it's kind of like they're showing us a
Okay,
world
I
that
see where
even
you're
with
going.
all the even with all the technological luxuries of having, like, the smartphones and the washing machine that could also make avocado toast, like, I know we're going there, but doesn't it show people have no emotion and they're not having fun anymore? And that's where
Okay.
memes, like, I kind of wonder, is the new age going to be so, like, tight buttholed that, like, we're never going to want to have fun and it won't have
Okay.
room for
Yes.
something like a Dogecoin?
I didn't think about that. I didn't think about that far
I'm
out.
just
And
wondering. I'm open-minded to, like, are we entering a
no, that's a
phase
good.
where we took it too far and then now we're, like, getting policed, like the Chinese, or like we're getting policed for making being involved in that kind of. I'm just
Oh,
wondering.
of course. They're definitely going to crack down on somehow. I don't know how they're. Well, I know one way they're attacking the decentralized exchanges like Uniswap here in the United States. That's a an on ramp, an off ramp for all of these memes. So they'll attack it, but I think they're attacking it for a different reason. It's just because they don't want us to make money. So they're seeing people make wild
Well, they want
amounts of money.
their taxes on it. They want to make sure that they're
Yeah, they
getting their
want their
piece of the
taxes.
pie.
Right. So that will be attacked. But you bring up a good point and a good angle in regards to memes. I'm not looking that far down the road, and maybe it's sooner than later. I hope not. But I definitely agree. If we're in a dystopian environment, memes probably have little to no place in it, and no one will have interest in that type of culture. So, yeah.
Real quick, I want to add something before we wrap things up. When we were talking about Elon Musk and like where he stands, whether he's a puppet, whether he's kind of going against the grain per se.
Sure.
real threats are always eliminated. I've seen that throughout my lifetime. I'm going to be 49 soon. Real threats are eliminated. So if somebody's walking around doing things, it makes me question. So I'll leave that.
Right.
The one thing,
Right.
and then the last thing I want to say is we're recording this
Or
on Tuesday.
they're given a deal and then they take the deal.
Interesting.
Yeah, because you're right. Because I would assume and would.
I'm not trying to derail your next point. I'm just saying, like, that's the other
you're
thing.
right.
Like when you start making change and you start pulling the sled, like as the lead dog,
you get Andrew Tate. You get Andrew Tate.
Andrew Tate's dad is a fucking Central Intelligence. Like, is it really?
He's passed
is he?
now,
Is he really the guy? Like, is he really the?
Once a spook, always a spook. Blood.
No, I don't. I think he's attacked on all fronts. No,
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. When you're CIA, you're always CIA.
I think that you should see an attack like they're doing against Andrew Tate against Elon if he was truly. That's what I'm saying. I'm agreeing. It depends. You guys in some.
Yeah, and I think ultimately it depends on the deal. Like, if the deal is your mother, you might not be willing to do that deal, and your punishment goes this way instead of maybe another way. Or you are willing to do a part of the deal, so they do a humiliation ritual. And instead of you watching loss, you just kind of look like a clown. It just depends on what deal are you being given and how far you're willing to go to pull all that off.
Right.
Like, I mean, I think Cat Williams has done a very good job at exposing some of this stuff. I'm not trying to say that he's somehow clean from the blood on his hands, but he's done pretty good at showing the world without skipping a beat, like just straight off the dome, the depths to which this operates behind the scenes. Anyone who could talk that quickly about something, that swiftly, knows. Listen to Elon Musk talk. He is not swift. He is not quick. He is remembering the script he read. He is good at reading scripts and not even that great at it. Like, he should hang out with Margot Robbie for a week. He's not that swift.
Nice.
I could do a 3-hour live stream.
Margot Robbie for a week. I'd like to hang out with her for just a couple hours, man. I'd be happy with that.
Okay.
My birthday's coming up soon, Margot Robbie. Just saying.
Yeah, you should make Margot.
I don't know what
Robbie
the hell you guys
on the Solana blockchain.
I don't know what the hell you guys are talking about.
Talking about an actress is probably one of the most beautiful, attractive women of today. I don't know her personally, so I can't speak upon her as an individual, but her looks are very satisfying. She played Harley Quinn, and she was in some movies with.
Maybe you saw Wolf of Wall Street.
Smith. Yeah, Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah, I saw Wolf of Wall Street.
A little hot blonde in that.
White people news. I don't know what the hell you guys are talking about.
You're not. Are you familiar?
By the way, I'm not the one
Harley
who's saying
Quinn?
anything about this.
I am. I'm definitely going on record here. She's a very
I don't know
beautiful
what
lady.
the hell you're talking
I'll
about.
send you a picture, Blood. I'll send you a picture. But hey, so we're
Sounds
recording
good.
this on Tuesday, April 16th, and we're
Mhm.
going to be releasing this to our private members. So
Right away. Yep.
I have Rice Uncensored. People can check out. I'm going to start uploading early access on my YouTube channel and announcing that probably starting next month in May. Blood, on your end, I know that you're sharing this with your members on your YouTube channel.
Yes.
When are we going to be releasing this publicly, and how can people become a member of your membership level on YouTube?
Yeah, you can sign your soul over to YouTube Overlords by going to my channel, clicking the join button, and coming on over and joining the YouTube Premium section for my channel. And I'll drop this literally today. I'm just gonna dump it and up it. No edits, anything, for all those who are YouTube Premium members. And I think, Rice, we should release this, give it a few days for the members to digest, so they have some type of advantage. We appreciate Waters coming on. As always, having an awesome time. I want to have him come back on again, Rice. We got to talk some alien shit, man. We got to talk some.
Yeah, I definitely want to have I would love to have a non-crypto conversation.
We should have him on an uncensored episode on Rumble. It gets real not safe for work over there.
Yeah.
we don't have to worry about YouTube. But yeah, we appreciate you, Waters, for coming on again, bro. Great knowledge you're dropping. Awesome alpha. And where can people find you? I have your site up on the screen. Let them know.
Yeah, you could just check out Waters Above on YouTube, and all the official links will be in the description box of any of the videos you click on. So just check out the last video I put out. I'll probably have a new one coming out this week as well, maybe by the time that this goes live. So I'll be filling everyone in on the play-by-play moving into the month of May and how they could take advantage of it and everything else that's going on in the world stage.
And there's also a link to Waters Above Patreon channel on his website as well, and the YouTube channel, so that you guys can join on the private side, support what he does, and kind of get a little bit more insight into the esoteric.
Yeah. On my Patreon, I release a weekly podcast, and it's about an hour to an hour and a half. So it's a long form podcast. Nice. I do a weekly market wrap up. And I also let my community members vote on altcoins every week, which I check out during those podcasts. So I've done over 150 something podcasts right now, and they have about 4 altcoins each. So you do the math. There's hundreds of altcoins that I've covered. So it's really nice to have that archive of all the past podcasts and all my past live streams. And it's crazy value for how little it is every month.
Mm-hmm. Well, there you have it, guys. Appreciate each and every one of you. Hit that like button, subscribe, all that good stuff. Until next time, peace.
Don't forget to visit ricetvx.com, where you can watch both of my YouTube channels, Rice Crypto and Rice Against the Grain, directly. Find all of my social media links, sign up for my mailing list, and become a member of Rice Uncensored, where you can join me on the private side for less than $0.25 a day. You will get early access to both Rice Crypto and Rice Against the Grain, ad-free, unedited videos, exclusive content, members-only forum with direct access to me, live streams, and more to come, only at ricetvx.com.